This week I've been driving the 2020 Ford Ranger, and this is a pretty impressive small truck. So I'm excited to get into it. So without further ado, let's just do that. Let's get into it. So before we get into any details on this specific truck, let's talk about the different trim levels offered in the Ranger. You can have an XL, an XLT, or a Lariat. So you do only have 3 trim levels there, but you do have some extra packages like the FX2, the FX4 that can be added on. You can also get either a SuperCrew or Super Cab, and those will determine if you have a 5-foot box or a 6-foot box. This is the XLT with FX2 package. It is the SuperCrew with 5-foot box. So let's dive in and figure out what all of that means. And yes, if you were wondering, we didn't mention a Raptor Ranger. Those are not being sold in the United States at the time of this video. We do have the Tremor Package coming out soon in 2021, but this is a 2020, not the 2021, so we don't get that Tremor Package yet. So again, let's talk about what this FX2 does offer us and what we're getting in this specific truck. So the FX2 package here on the 2020 Ranger is supposed to match the great looks with outstanding off-road performance without having to go into a 4-wheel drive truck. The package includes an FX2 body side decal, standard 17-inch wheels with off-road tires. You also get available 18-inch wheels. You have an electronic locking rear differential, plus some off-road suspension, which helps keep you in command. So let's take a quick look around this truck and soak in everything from the exterior. First of all, up front is that Ford grille. This is the XLT. So we just have a blacked out plastic grille. The Lariat does come with a more chrome grille. Obviously, depending on the trim level that you get different grilles. It is the FX2, so we do have some tow hooks right there up front. We also have the fog lights up front, and we have auto halogen headlights with daytime running lights. You do get a high muscular belt line here with a raked grille and windshield, giving it a more athletic stance, but also adding to that aerodynamics. We have short overhangs, which means better approach and departure angles for off-roading. Along the side here, like we said, we have those 17-inch wheels. These are magnetic painted aluminum wheels with those off-roading tires. You also get that front bumper cover and wheel lip moldings that give this a more two-tone look. Up on the front fender, you do have the Ranger logo with XLT, signifying your trim level. On the door, we have that keypad for keyless entry. A lot of times it's up in the door here for Fords, but this one is down here on the door. You also do get a key with remote start on it, but you don't get a push button start or keyless entry. You do have to physically unlock the car and lock the car with the key fob itself. And as you can probably tell, it is an actual key. No push button start there. Moving further down the side here, you do get that capless fuel filter that all Fords have these days, which is really nice. And at the very back is your FX2 badge. And moving further around the back here, you do have LED tail lights. You have the Ranger nameplate stamped into the tailgate. You do get an EcoBoost badge there on the tailgate, signifying the engine under the hood. And you do get a single exhaust port coming out the side. All right, and with that, let's take a closer look to the tailgate in the box here. Like I said, it is the 5-foot box. You do get a locking tailgate, and that's power locking, so you can lock it. It locks with the truck locking. So let's unlock it here and drop it. Not a soft drop, obviously, but we do have the Tough Bed bed liner here. We do have some nice tie downs. You do have lighting from the back of the truck here, but there's no in-bed lighting. But overall, it's a truck bed. Nothing special with the tailgate here, and nothing else too fancy with the box itself. This one is equipped with the towing package, so you do get a tow hook included here, along with the hookup ports. And we'll talk towing numbers when we look under the hood, which we'll do right now. Let's go check it out. All right, guys, so under the hood is the 2.3 liter EcoBoost 4-cylinder engine. It's basically the same setup that you get in a base Mustang, but this one pushes 270 horsepower, 310 foot-pounds of torque, which is less than what you would get in the base Mustang. But that 310 foot-pounds of torque is the highest torque number for any gasoline-powered mid-size truck. Obviously, the diesel-powered trucks are going to be higher on torque. That's all matched to a 10-speed automatic transmission, which feels just fine in this truck. And I said we're going to talk about the tow rating. It's rated at 7,500 pounds of towing, and we do have that trailering tow package, which is a $495 option. All right, and with that out of the way, let's move into the interior, starting with those rear seats. All right, guys, and here it is, the rear seats of the Ranger. Again, this is the SuperCrew, so you do have a lot more room in the back here, and it's a pretty decent size. Kids fit back here just fine. I'm 6'1", and I can basically sit behind myself. I could sit here in the passenger seat and be comfortable, and sit back here behind the passenger seat and be comfortable. And it's pretty close to my driving position as well, so you get a lot of comfort there. There's plenty of headroom. There's an extra little bump here for the rear passengers. So again, 6'1", I have plenty of headroom. You do get a pull-down armrest with cup holders. You get your own USB ports back here and a 110-volt, 150-watt power port back here, which is fantastic. And you also get that sliding rear window, which is always nice for back passengers. Of course, I got all my camera equipment and stuff back here with me, so it is a bit cramped with all that. Obviously, if you're carrying around a lot of stuff with you in the interior and you need to use the rear seats, having a bed cover is crucial, or you should be looking at an SUV, maybe that Bronco. All right, and with that, let's jump out of these rear seats and jump into the front and talk about the rest of the interior. Oh. All right, now let's talk about the front interior of this truck. So you do have the premium cloth bucket seats here, and this color is called medium stone. So it's like a grayish tan color. You can also get an ebony, a black interior, which I would prefer and definitely would get a lot less dirty than these. They're called the premium cloth, but I don't see much that's very premium about them. They feel pretty cheap. And this is one of the issues, one of the big issues that I had the first time that I was able to drive the Ranger, is that even in some of the upper trims, that the interior just feels very cheap and neglected, especially for Ford, because I think they do cheaper vehicles with really nice interiors, and I feel like they've definitely went back to the bargain bin and dug up some really cheap materials to get this one to a price spec where they thought it needed to be. It's not a huge deal, but you definitely get some pretty cheap plastics, when again, some of their other cheaper cars, you get a lot nicer materials than you do in this truck. And if you want leather seats instead of these cloth seats, you do have to get up into the Lariat trim to get those leather seats. But even with those leather seats, I think the rest of the interior materials are still pretty cheap. One of the other options that we have on this truck is a sliding rear window. That's always nice to have. But let's take a quick look around the rest of the interior here. So you do have Ranger stamped in above the glove box here. There's the glove box. Again, this is a metallic looking but very cheap plastic feeling material. This also very cheap plastic feeling material there. And that's housing that 8-inch touchscreen we'll come back to in just a second. A little bit further down is some redundant audio controls, then all your heating and AC controls, including heated seats, which are appreciated when it's nice and cool outside. You do get two 12-volt accessory ports and two USB ports down here. There is no wireless charging for phones in this truck, and I'm pretty sure that's not an option. Right here you have your start-stop button off, so it won't kill the engine as you come to a stop. This button is your locking diff button, then your traction control button, your parking sensors on and off, and a trailering button. Moving over, you do have a traditional gear shift, no electronic gear shift there, which is just fine. Then you have two cup holders and your center console here, which is a decent size for this truck. And of course, you have a fully manual parking brake. For your steering wheel here, pretty basic Ford layout. You have your controls for your driver information, your cruise control settings here, your radio controls here, and some extra controls like your mute, your talk to touch, your phone button, your home screen button, and a settings button. And if you've heard me gripe about Fords before, I really dislike that they put the volume controls on this side. I really wish they were on this side, but that's a personal preference. Coming back behind the steering wheel, that is a 4.2-inch productivity screen. That's the driver information screen, so you can get your trip information here, and you can toggle through a lot of different settings there, including some off-road stuff here because we have the FX2 package. All right, and back to the 8-inch touchscreen here. This is the Sync 3 system. Should be nothing new here for Ford users. If you've seen any Ford reviews, this is just their basic Sync 3 system. You do get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto support, as well as Alexa integrations and a Waze map integrations. You do get your own navigation maps built in. Obviously, your climate control here. You get your Ford Pass Connect and some different vehicle settings. You also do get a backup camera, not a 360 camera, although you do get some parking sensors in the front and back, but this is just a backup camera, and you do get some guidelines as you turn. Pretty basic system there. I would love to see a 360 camera system, but this is a small truck, easy to park, so it's not that big of a deal there. All right, and that pretty much wraps it up for the interior and tech. I think it's time to take this sucker for a drive. Let's go. This, of course, isn't meant to be one of these speedy trucks, not a sporty truck, but that EcoBoost engine kind of holds its own, and it's pretty nice in the cornering. Acceleration out of corners, not that great. Of course, this is the FX2, so kind of more geared towards off-roading than it is speedy road driving. But it can be fun if you really push it and want it to. But again, obviously, that's not the point of this truck. So obviously, the big appeal to a smaller truck is its smallness, its form factor, its driving and maneuverability. You don't have a big honking truck that you have to park, that you have to keep in lanes and avoid other people. It's a lot nicer and more nimble for day-to-day driving. It's also lighter weight, so if you are doing some off-roading or you're taking it to a beach or something like that, you have less weight, so you're not really getting stuck as much due to weight. Now, like we've mentioned plenty of times already, this is the FX2 package, so it does have some off-roading tires on it. It does have a little bit of off-roading ability. Of course, if you really want some off-roading, you'll get the FX4 package, or next year that Tremor Package. Really interested in seeing that thing perform. And of course, even this one being the two-wheel drive and not the four-wheel drive, we still have a rear locking diff, which is very helpful for getting unstuck in sticky situations. But again, day-to-day driving, it's a comfortable truck to sit in. I've already talked about the interior. The interior is a bit cheap feeling for me. I really wish they would have put a little bit better materials and attention to detail into this small truck. But I also understand that they were working on a budget. You had to keep this thing priced low enough where it made sense to buy over an F-150. That was one of the big issues with bringing the European version of the Ranger to the States, was that the price was just too close to what the F-150 is, which we'll talk a little bit more about price in just a second. But obviously that does come into play there. Maybe in a couple of years, they'll be able to come out with higher level trims, and people that really want to spend that kind of money and still want a small truck will be able to. You can definitely do it with some of the competitors, so I'm sure eventually Ford will allow you to as well. Fuel economy wise, you're looking at 21 miles per gallon city, 26 miles per gallon highway. Obviously that EcoBoost is a very fuel efficient engine for this truck, and it's a lot lighter weight. than a bigger truck, but the EcoBoost engine definitely comes with a bit of a catch. As we found out with the 3.5 liter EcoBoost in the F-150, you can hit those fuel economy numbers, but if you're at all hard on your truck, it can actually be less efficient. So driving these EcoBoost engines definitely depends on how you drive, your style of driving, on if you're gonna hit that fuel efficiency or not. During my full week with it, I've been averaging 18.8 miles to the gallon. I think that's pretty good considering we do a lot of sitting the car idling while doing video and doing pictures. We also harp on it a little bit harder than I would just a normal day driving because obviously you got to test it out. But 18.8 in this truck, I think is pretty good for us. This XLT is also equipped with Ford's Co-Pilot 360, which is a bunch of safety features, including blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert, adaptive cruise control and lane keeping assist, and a whole host of safety features that make this truck even better for day-to-day living. If you're backing out of a parking spot at a grocery store, or you're doing a longer road trip on the highway, all these things kind of come into play for day-to-day livability. So again, seating position and everything is very comfortable. Driving this thing is really nice. The best thing I can compare it to is a Toyota Tacoma, which is high praise because the Tacoma is kind of the king in this category. And this definitely gives you that Tacoma feel. It's the right size, it's the right maneuverability. But let's pull over, talk about some of the price and competition for this truck, and then we'll start wrapping this video up. All right, guys, so I did want to take a little bit more time today and talk about the price and competition in more detail. I do think it's super important for this truck. Again, one of the big reasons Ford took so long to bring this Ranger to the United States was the price, and even factoring in the F-150 as a competitor to this truck. So let's just start breaking it down. You have the base price of the base Ranger is $24,410. The base XLT, which is what we're sitting in right now, is $30,635 with all the options that we have in here, including the FX2 package, the sliding window, the power seats, and everything that we've talked about. Your total MSRP is $37,290. And that might seem like a lot of money, almost $40,000 for a small Ranger truck. But let's look at the competition. So one of the big competitors here obviously is Chevy with the Colorado. Now your base price for a Colorado is $27,000. Loaded up with the Z71 trim and things that would kind of make it compete with this is about $33,000. So you're looking about the same kind of pricing, maybe a little bit lower, but in kind of the same ballpark there. The thing with the Colorado is you do have a lot more options there. You have a lot more engine options and sizing options with the box and the cab and everything. There are a lot more options there, and I feel like it has even higher premium trims. I was able to drive the ZR2 Bison on an off-road course last year. If you're interested in that, I will leave it up in the iCards, but that was a really great off-roading truck. And I don't think that Ford yet has anything that competes with that in the Ranger. Of course, that Tremor that I keep mentioning is coming in 2021, and that'll be as close as you'll get. My biggest hiccup with the Colorado is I'm not a big fan of the exterior design. I much more like the GMC Canyon. I think it looks really good, and it has more premium interiors. Obviously, that's going to cost you a little bit more money. This isn't meant to be a premium truck, and that is more meant to be a premium truck. But I do like that design a lot better. And then of course you have the king of these small trucks, the Tacoma. Now when GM brought out the Canyon and Colorado to compete with the Tacoma, one of the crazy things was that the Tacoma didn't drop in sales. It actually grew in sales along with GM's trucks. So having competitors in this space hasn't hurt Toyota. If anything, it's made them better. And they have a really solid and really good truck. So a base Tacoma, you're looking at $26,000, and the TRD off-road is around $34,000. So again, a little bit in the same ballpark, if not a little bit cheaper. As an overall truck, design, interior, drivability, options that you get. I do like the Tacoma a little bit better than the Ranger, but of course the Tacoma, being a Toyota, it is lacking in a lot of technology and extra features that you would get there in the interior. Toyota does obviously neglect updating its technology and interiors for a long time because people are just satisfied and happy with what they get, which is fine. Again, the Tacoma is a really great truck. But if you are into all the tech and extra features there, the Ford was probably a better investment into that with the sync system and all of the Co-Pilot 360 features. So that's always something to consider. And then obviously once you start talking about the price, one of the things you start thinking is, wouldn't you just buy an F-150? So a base F-150 is $28,840. And again, that's compared to the base $24,000 for a Ranger. The XLT base is $35,000 for an F-150 compared to $30,000 for the Ranger. And an XLT spec'd out to about the way I'd like, close to what this is about $51,000. When again, this is $37,000. So as you start adding options to that F-150, you are adding significantly more to the price than that base price. So when you start thinking about it as $38,000 versus $51,000, then that price difference starts to make sense. And I'm not sure how many people are getting into the Ranger who really wish they had the F-150. Maybe there are quite a few out there, but I think if you want to get into an F-150, there are definitely plenty of ways to do so. If you're buying a Ranger, you probably want a smaller truck and not the bigger truck. So I don't think the price difference between the F-150 versus the Ranger really matters that much, at least not as much as probably some of the Ford marketing and sales people think it does. I don't think F-150 sales will cannibalize the Ranger sales, and I don't think Ranger sales would cannibalize F-150 sales. I think they're two different demographics, and adding options and price to the Ranger would only make the Ranger better and not take away from the F-150. So I definitely do see them bringing out more trims and more options in the future to make this thing an even better truck than it already is. With that, let's jump out and wrap this video up. All right, guys, well, that is the end of the video, the end of the review. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, please hit that thumbs up button. Consider subscribing if you're into car reviews and truck reviews. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think about the Ranger here. And as always, guys, thanks for watching.